Namo Buddhaya. Continuing our discussion on anattā, there is one very good sutta which can help us from the Puttujana stage to Anagami state just by this sutta, because it gives clarity on the person what we create or the personification what we do, and that is the real cause of Sakkaya Ditthi. So let's understand through that sutta. This is in Majjhima Nikaya. The sutta is MN 148 in Majjhima Nikaya, called as Chachakkha Sutta, which explains how the Sakkaya gets created, which starts to recognize as mine, belonging to me, or I self, and in some books they put it as myself, and then the reverse, the other side would be no self, and that becomes even more confusing between whether self exists or self doesn't exist. So it goes into a different discussion altogether. Instead of putting it as myself and no self, it's better to put it as no person or no personality, if at all we want to use. And we can say personality and no personality. And the Pali word of that is etam mama esoham asmi eso me atta iti. And the problem is with atta, because the English translation, it's very difficult. Other translations are also very difficult because it has been translated as anattā. So that makes feel that there is something called as atma and there is something called anattā. In English, the word is self, and in Sanskrit, self translates to atma. And if there is no self, then that becomes anattā. But the problem comes in how to experience that. Okay, we knowledge-wise, intellectual-wise, we can gain. So let's understand how to get rid of this view, whatever it is called as, so as to attain Nibbana right here, right now, within the end of this sutta. As always, I guess you know that we need to submit our sincere gratitude to Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, and also do a Vandana. Right now I'm not doing it for this discourse because that's the basic assumption, and also we need to set the 5 precepts for us to experience this. So there are these 6 internal recognizable as in being aware faculties, and there are 6 external objects which can be sensed. Then there are 6 consciousness which gets connected to this faculty and the object. Then there are 6 classes of contact based upon where the consciousness is, and that creates 6 kinds of feelings or 6 classes of feelings and 6 classes of craving that need to be penetrated thoroughly in order to get rid of this personalization what we do. So let us start with understanding, also I will be giving illustrations or examples how we can see it. So first let's look at the 6 internal recognizable faculty. So they are Chakku Ayatanam, Sota Ayatanam, Ghana Ayatanam, Jivha Ayatanam, Kaya Ayatanam, Mano Ayatanam. So if I were to translate it into English, Chakku is the eye and Ayatana is that which has the awareness as a faculty, or that which makes it like a faculty. That's the nearest we can translate in English for Ayatana. It can be put as a state of awareness. It can be put as the faculty or the field, but they exactly don't fit there. But unfortunately in English that's what we can do. In other Indian languages there can be some way of dealing with it, but since we are talking in English, it has a limitation. So let's take it as a faculty. And before we get into the faculty, let's understand what is this awareness, because there is something called recognition. So basically this ayatana has a recognition or an awareness. These senses do not connect to anything other than that particular sense object, meaning it is already aware. Example, eye cannot smell, ear cannot taste, tongue cannot hear. Eyes can only have a sight. You cannot force the eye to taste. And again it becomes anattā. You or I cannot force the tongue to hear, no matter what I do. The body, kaya, cannot be made to smell. Not possible. It knows touching. So it's something called touch. That's all it knows. So all the 5 senses, including the mind as one of the sense, know their objects. Eye knows sight, ears knows sound, tongue knows taste, body knows touch, nose knows the smell, and mind knows the thoughts. Then they say no, it means it's self-aware. And that is one of the reasons why I call it as myself, because of this awareness. And then I can say, if there is an I can say the function of seeing as I am seeing. The function of hearing, I can say I am hearing. The function of smelling, I am saying I am smelling. Because there is a recognition already in the sense. Now if I don't agree with that statement, I cannot force those senses to do other than what they know to do. So there is anattā there as well. Now let us understand the term ayatana. Ayatana represents this sense awareness in its detail. based upon the sense object. Okay. And this whole thing is called as a person or a personality. So I make it as personal. So when somebody says don't take it personally, what he is trying to say is that the sound which is coming from his mouth, which is carrying the words which that person can understand through his intellect, sanya, he doesn't want it to be taken as meant to his ear. That's what it means. When we say, hey, why do you take it so personally? So what he's trying to say is that take it as a process. Don't take it as like a personality. Take it objectively. Don't take it subjectively. Subject is the person. Object, the word objectively, if you were to see, it means it's just a process orientation. So the personality view means what it can personalize. So the sense are my personal belongings. The eye is my personal. The ear is personal. Like that. Now the external objects, there is no control over that. I cannot dictate. Just like I cannot say this is my eye, because it's already there. I'm just putting a label that this is my eye. Similarly, I cannot say that's the rupa, that's my rupa, that's my form, what I wanted. That is not the form what I wanted. It's just a form. Okay, and just a sound, just a smell, just a taste, just a touch, just a thought. These are the 6 sensual experiences one could have. But because I am already having this notion, because the senses automatically know what to take, meaning they become self-aware, and this self is my self. So it becomes, I want to see what I love to see. That is how this craving and enjoyment, all that comes. So we'll see that later. But at this time, you need to know that how this personal is coming, how the personality is coming. How do you say it is a person? So let's say, why let's say? Okay, let's take this my own case, this mine. My name is Vilas. I never asked to name me. So my parents named whatever they want to name to the body. When I came out of the womb, my name was not Vilas. In fact, I had no name. Now this name became aware through sound. So when they started calling me Vilas, that sound started ringing in my ear. And then when they made gestures, the sense made that assessment on the sound and picked up to know that that is something what I'm called for. Just like a dog is there I buy a dog from the market and I bring it to my home and I call it as Jamie or some other name. Let's say Jamie. So the moment I call it as Jamie or Jimmy or whatever, after some time the dog starts to react to that sound. It's only the sound, but it gives it a personalized effect. So we have Rupa, Saddha, Gandha, Rasa, Pottabha, Dhamma. These are all ayatanam. Just like the ayatana what I spoke, these are also ayatana. So they're aware. So each one of these gets connected through the consciousness. When they're connected through consciousness, they have the touching. And this touchy thing is called as contact. And because there is contact, there is a feeling. Can be a pleasurable feeling, can be a painful feeling, can be a neutral feeling. And that creates craving for desiring again and again, or resisting something which I don't like. So I want to push it. Now let's take this investigation. I sense. If I turn my head from left to right, all the objects on the left will drop and I can only watch objects on the right. So the I has gone away. Please pay attention to this. If there is a turn, forget the I business. If the neck were to be turned, the object on the left no longer are visible to the eye, and the consciousness is now moved towards left. They were on the right, head moved or the neck moved towards left. All the objects on the right are no longer accessible to the eye. So one can see the arising of the eye and dissolution of that eye. How did it arise? And when my head is on the right, you can see. When the head is on the left, the seeing is something different. So one could observe the arising, passing away, and one cannot wish, meaning the head is turned towards left, cannot wish, let these objects remain. Let's say there was a person sitting next to me on the right hand side, and I turned my face towards left because I got a phone call on my mobile number, and I turned towards left and started talking. In the meanwhile, that person who was sitting went to the restroom, and I cannot see him, and he has gone to the restroom. After a few minutes, I keep the phone. I turn towards left. At that time, the mobile phone is gone. And I'm searching for this person because that person is also gone. Let's say he didn't go to the restroom, but he left the office looking at me that I'm busy on the phone. So he went away. Then when I turned right, he's not there. So can I now say, if I is a person, because I am able to see, that becomes like saying the person arose in the eye and departed in the eye, because as the eye arose, the person arose. As the eye departed, the person departed. That's not tenable. Hence, there is no person in the eye, even though the process of seeing is there. So it's a process, and no individual can be found in the eye. Okay, the same thing with the sight. Like this person who was sitting and he left. He didn't tell me, he left, the object is gone. Similarly, if I'm turning my head from left to right or right to left, same. That person is gone who was on the right. Now the mobile is gone when I turn my head from left to right, or right to left, whichever way, wherever I had kept it. So I had kept the phone on my left, turned towards that person to talk to him. Then I find he is not there, his seat is empty. And when I turn towards that side, the mobile is also not there. It's there in my mind. Let's say somebody came and picked up my mobile and went. Let's say my wife had come to the room, and while I was turning onto the right hand side, and I went in search of this gentleman, got up from my seat just to see where he went, and in the meanwhile my wife came into the room and she took the mobile and left. Now when I come back, I can no longer find the mobile also along with that person. So then in what happens? If it was a person, then that person departed when the sight went away. It arose because of the sight and it departed because of the sight. And hence there is no individual there. Same thing with consciousness. I am conscious seeing the object. It's untenable because another object comes, then this object is gone. Let's say, like yesterday's example I was giving about the girl. One girl is coming, and behind her is another girl who is coming, and behind her is another woman is coming, and behind her another man is coming. This girl is a very beautiful looking as per me, as per my raga, what I have developed. The other girl is not that beautiful. The woman I recognize as my sister, and the man behind her as my brother-in-law. Now what happens? On the consciousness side, I want to love watching this girl, but the other girl is behind. So my sight also goes there. So what happened to this girl? It's gone. And what happened to that girl? My sight has now gone to that girl. So the consciousness is now moved from this girl to that girl. So the connection now is between this eye and this girl. That eye is gone, that sight is gone. Now new eye with a new girl, and a new eye with the sister whom I recognize, and a new eye with the brother-in-law. Okay, so we can see the eye arising, passing away, the sight arising, passing away, the consciousness arising, passing away, then the contact arising, passing away. All are dependent. Feeling arising and passing away, craving arising and passing away. And this arising and passing away is the anicca, whereas they taking it as self view or a person or a personality is what atta is. So we first make it as nicca, that is there is no arising, passing away. the person is always there, and then we make it as anattā. But what reality is that it is arising and passing away, and also anattā. No person, no personality. It is just a process of seeing, of hearing, of tasting, of touching, smelling and thinking. There is no person called as I am seeing, I am tasting, I am touching, I am smelling, I am thinking. Conventional reality, we have to use the language. So it is called in Buddha Dhamma as adhivachana sampassa. That is designating and talking, because you need that vachana, meanings to talk. So you need to use a language, you need to use grammar, syntax and all that to properly place it like a first person and second person and third person and so forth. But in reality, that doesn't exist. So we have taken the conceptual, first is conceptual, and the samuchisacca, conventional, as the actual reality. And then we make I am, with I am seeing, with I am hearing, with I am smelling, and all that. So what we can see here is that when the manasikara, I think you would have heard of this term, manasikara, its proper English translation is not around here, but we can say observation, awareness, and all of that terms can be used. And yoniso manasikara is with penetrative awareness, or whatever English word that can be put. If that is not yoniso manasikara, then the person gets created in all of the five senses, in all the five sense object, in all the five consciousness, six senses and six sense object, and the six consciousness, and six contact, the six feeling, and six craving. So 6 types. That's the reason it's called as Chachakkha Sutta. And that gives a personalization or personification or an individualization experience called as etam mama eso aham asmi eso me atta. And when a person applies yoniso manasikara, the doership is gone, because it's just a process. There's no person. And with the person gone, he gets into netam mama neso aham asmi neso me atta iti. That means this is not mine, this does not belong to me, and this is not my personality or person. So when the touching of or contact happens in any one of the 6 sense doors, along with the 6 sense objects through consciousness, one would get a feeling of pleasurable, painful, and neutral. So when one creates a person as an enjoyer, approves it, welcomes it, and attaches to that feeling, becomes pleasurable feeling due to this association, and that develops raga, desire. That gets created, it develops and becomes a state of wanting more and more of such experience. When the feeling of painful arises through the 6 senses, the person who has been created now lands due to the pain into sorrow, starts to wail, laments for losing it, losing that pleasurable feeling, and is unconsolable in the heart. And this creates a patigha, or aversive, or hateful, or resentment, or repulsive tendency in order to do something to remove it. When the feeling is neither pleasurable nor painful, that person do not truly understand that feelings, its origin, its ending, its gratification, the drawback and escape. So what we need to do is, we need to see the drawback in every sense object and the sense door to which it is impingement is happening. That is, there is some connection which is happening, which ripples the mind to, then that is the mind here is a chitta, to accept or to reject or to be in delusion. That is raga, dvesha and moha. That is what we need to see. He would not know. So what one need to do is to see with yoniso manasikara, meaning when that object is coming, what is that object? If somebody opens the mouth and speaks, like what I am speaking, it is the sound. And how is the sound coming? Through space. So space is one of the element, and sound can only come if there is space. So when the sound comes, if you like my voice, you will find it pleasurable. If you don't like the voice, you will find it painful. If it is neutral, there is no liking or disliking. But you make me as a person rather than taking a sound. So what you will say is, Vilas, your sound is very harsh and I take it very personal. So what I have done is I have added dukkha. Why? Because I need to do something about the sound. And then when my body, then this body is shown to you, you will find me lean or you will find me stout. If I am lean, if the body is lean, you are going to make me lean and say that, I think Vilas, you need to put some weight. If you see me stout or fat, you will ask me to reduce the weight. But the problem here is, there is no person to, in the first place, to increase it or decrease it. Yes, if the food is not given much, if he is eating less, the person will automatically turn lean. If the person is feeding himself all the time, the so-called person, this is from Samuchi Satcha, conventional reality, then the body grows. He didn't do anything to grow the body, or she didn't do anything to grow the body. He didn't do anything to become lean or fat. Depending upon the food, the fat and lean is happening. So it is just the process. So when we understand the process, and when we not welcome the pleasurable, when we don't create hatredness, when touched with painful, and truly understand the feeling, origin, ending, gratification, drawback, and escape, there is no raga, dvesha, moha. If there is no raga, dvesha, moha, the person is in nibbana. So he gives up the underlying tendency to greed for pleasant feeling. He will dispel the underlying tendency to repulsion towards painful feeling. And after eradication of ignorance, that is, he will get into the majjhima, where your heart expands. This is the one you need to practice. This neutral feeling you need to practice. So this neutral feeling is where ignorance is, and the neutral feeling is where wisdom is. So you need to shun the pleasurable, you need to shun the painful. You need to observe the neutral. Without knowing neutral, we always get into the painful and pleasurable. So you need to shun both of them and get into the neutral feeling, And that neutral feeling with ignorance is called with not knowing is called ignorance. And when you know that just keeps on expanding in the heart, it is called panya or wisdom. Now what it be a feeling there? It will feel at peace, shanti. So when you have heart filled with shanti or this peace, the noble one, the Arya, gets disillusioned with the eye, the sight, eye consciousness, contact, feeling and craving. The same with the remaining 5 senses. Being disillusioned, the desire fades away. When the desire fades away, they are freed. When it is freed, that is, there is no longing to hold the object of senses, a person is completely freed. They understand the rebirth is ended. Spiritual journey has been completed. And what has been done is been done. And there is no state of return to any state of existence. This you will experience a little in Sotapanna, develops to a certain level in Sakadagami, develops a lot in Anagami, and B is always in that in Arhat. So this one sutta, along with the Indriya Bhavana Sutta, if a person were to practice all the time, there is greater chance of becoming an Arhat, and 100% the person can reach Anagami. Because there is no person. So then what happens is this girl, the boy, tall, short, fat, lean, all of this will go away. So the raga is not there. If raga is not there, the dvesha also cannot be there. And if the raga and dvesha is not there, there is no moha. So the moha was created due to not understanding the neutrality, the upekha. Now the adukka asukha vedana is converted into an upekha, where there is tremendous expansion of the heart. In fact, the whole of the Metta Sutta is on that. So one can really experience Nibbana. Then for the very first time, if he has done this correctly, that is Chachakkha Sutta along with the Indriya Bhavana Sutta, he can penetrate deeper into Etan Santan, Etan Panitan, Yadidam, Sabba Sankhara Samato. That is the Mano Sankhara is gone, Chitta the Vachi Sankhara is gone, and Chitta Sankhara is the Kaya Sankhara is gone. So Mano, Vachi, Kaya, all the three are completely put into samatha, that is tranquility. So the Chitta Sankhara is the Vedana and the Sanya. Now the Vedana is Upekha. So the Sanya is, there's nothing there. It is Yatha Bhuta, the seeing as is. Vachi Sankhara. Earlier I was personification, thinking and pondering. There is no longer any personification. Third one, Kaya Sankhara. Asapassa, that is in breath, out breath. So when my mind is still, there is no breath. That means there is no the tendency of anxiety, the tendency of vexation. The breath is so soft. Whatever is required for breathing, that is only there. In fact, you wouldn't even know whether you are breathing or not breathing. The mind has shut down. And you are with yourself. The yourself, again, please don't take it like self. It is what it should be. That's a better way to put it. Okay, I hope this sutta has helped you. And if you have any questions, you can write to me, or you can message me, or however you want to contact. And may all beings attain Nibbana through this Chachakkha Sutta. And another sutta which I want to recommend to you is Indriya Bhavana Sutta. Don't forget that, wherein Buddha gives example. Chachakka Sutta is very difficult to grasp, so I thought let me give it some examples, and we are now coming to the end portion of the anattā. So this is what anattā is, that there is no self in the six senses, there is no self in the object, there is no self in the consciousness, there is no self in contact, there is no self in the feelings, there is no self in craving. So if you cut the self as self personality in the sense, it will cut everywhere, because it's just a process. So your I will be there, but the faculty will not change to something else. Just like a building is called as chemistry lab, and it is after a few days it is called biology lab, and this is what is the faculty is all about. And it will not convert like that. Meaning, when I see a girl, it will be just a girl. It will not put itself as a bad girl, or a good girl, or a beautiful girl, or an ugly girl, a tall girl, or short girl, and all that will not be there. It will just be a girl. If I see a boy, it will just be a boy. If I see a man, it will just be a man. If I see a woman, it will just be a woman. It won't be anything called good, bad, ugly, then tall, short, broad, all of that. So this is what is called as dite mattan, sute mattan, mute mattan, vinyate mattan, because there is no personality. And when the person completely gets that, he is an arahat. He gets to a greater extent anagami. He's got it, but not too much into it, because there is still kamaraga and patigha. He is a sakadagami. He's just seen what it is, but he is yet to get into a complete detail. Workout is Sotapanna. Hope this whole thing gets into clarity, and you can investigate it yourself, and look forward to talk to you again on Monday. Thank you very much.